review from a car. As always, you rate, comment, subscribe, share this with a friend, family, as well as a follower. Let's get this channel lit in the YouTube algorithm, okay? So I'm gonna give you guys my review on the Terra Devil in Silver. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Terra. It's it was on AMC a few years ago. I like season one. I think out of all three seasons, even though we haven't completed season three, I feel like season one is the best season so far. Season two, I was into it, but I wasn't really into it. I wasn't really invested into it, but I did watch the whole entire series. I think it took a nosedive on season two, but I think it's picking things up on season three. Okay, so let's get into today's review. Now, also, this was on my radar when I saw it on YouTube, when I saw the trailer for it a few months ago, and I forgot to make a notice on it. I forgot to notify myself that the terror has came back. So I was like, over the weekend, just wanting to watch a movie, and I'm going through my Amazon, and I know From was off last week, so I had to find something to replace that time slot. So I'm going sorting through all the movies and things like that, and then I ran into the terror, and I watched 3 episodes of it. I think 3 or 4 episodes of it. No, it's 3 episodes. Okay, so I watched all 3 episodes, and I'm gonna give you guys my review of the Terror. Now, before we begin, okay, we're gonna read a brief review on the Terror. Okay, you're like, you are like thinking of the Terror Devil in Silver, a hit television series based on a book. The show is part of the Terror Home series. What is the Terror Devil in Silver? Okay, the story is set in a despicable ward called New Hive Hospital in Queens, New York. It follows Pepper, a loudmouth, large frame, a loudmouth who was wrongfully framed on a 72-hour hold. Okay, the monster in the darkness of his first night, Pepper is attacked by this terrified creature with a body of an old man and a head of a bison. When he survives, he teams up with other patients to hunt down the monster. Um, the deeper meaning, more than the monster story, is cryptic. It's particularly in the U.S. Mental health care hospital system. Well, a damaged mental health care hospital, uh, and an institution that is pretty much knowing that there's evil lurking in these hallways of this hospital. Okay, the cast and the creature is Victor. uh okay, we don't need to know all this. Okay, so we're just gonna just go ahead and look for, if you're looking for something. uh okay, so we're gonna get into it. Okay, let me tell y'all guys what I thought of the terror. And before we begin, I first like to, guys, I always check and make sure that am I live? Am I live? Okay, let's find out if I'm live or not. Before we get into it, okay. Uh, Unfortunately, oh, here we go. Okay, yeah, we're live. Yeah, 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 yeah. We're live. Oh, okay. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's calm that down some. Let's calm that down some. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Okay, but hopefully it picks up uh the intro of what we're about to talk about, and that is the terror. Okay, so I watched, I think there's 3 episodes already available. I think the fourth episode is available later on this week. I just don't know what day it's available. Um but I will watch that episode as well. Okay, I like the setup of the Terror, and they're taking this to new territory, which is the hospital, the mental hospital ward. Okay, never seen a horror story, uh a story that's based around a hospital, a psycho hospital, a psychiatric hospital ward. I think that's new territory. I'm pretty sure there's other movies that have tried and done this, but to me, this is my first time seeing a horror story wrapped in a mental institution ward. Okay, it gives you sort of the vibes, and I know people are going to say no on this, but it kind of gives you the vibes of Arkham Asylum. For those who've been living on the rock, Arkham Asylum is where Batman takes all the notorious villains to this psych ward. Okay, so it kind of gives you that vibe because you got the mysterious doctor that everyone is scared of, and the doctor knows more to this hospital ward than meets the eye. You also have the nurse, and I've seen her play in several movies, several hit shows. She was on Law and Order. I forgot the lady's name, but she was in Law and Order. And she was also on RoboCop back in the day. Okay, so you got a veteran actress that's in this movie, this mini series. Um, but besides all that, I like the actors and actresses that are in this series. I don't think they skimped on the actors and actresses. As far as uh the storytelling is, to me, I only seen like 3 episodes, but it's a very slow burn with the story. It just little by little gives you little details on what's a goings on. Okay, which, be truthfully honest, it don't bother me none, because uh when it comes to series, I'm not one of those that want to hurry up and want to know what's going on. And we're 4 episodes in, I want to know everything about this series. I do like it. I like it kind of mystique. I like it kind of like a little mystery. You don't really know what's going on. You get bits and pieces from episode to episode to episode, and I like that format. And plus, I'm a huge veteran of that. Like I said, I'm from the From universe. That's the show that I'm hooked on right now, so it's not a big deal. I do understand, like, if people are upset about that you don't really know too much about the series, and they feel a certain kind of way. I do understand why people would think that way. However, I kind of like it this way. So I like the storytelling thus far. I do feel like out of all the Terror season 1, season 2, and season 3, season 1 was the best of them all. Season 2 was mid. And if you don't want to see it, that's fine. You can skip season 2. Like, none of the seasons are connected. Okay, so you can start whenever, but I would want to watch, if I was you. Hey, how you doing? How you doing, Eric? If I was you guys, I would watch the Terror from season 1, season 2, and season 3. But if you want to skip through them, if like I said, season 2 wasn't all that great. So if you want to go season 1 to season 3, that's fine. Okay. Now, from what I gathered, now the storytelling, I don't know. Hold up. Morning. How are you? I'm good. And how are you, Rick? Eric. So from what I gathered, like I said, it's only 3 episodes, so I can't tell you if the storytelling is and the writing is bad or is it good. I will say it's interesting. Okay, how about that? It's very, very interesting. Okay, so we have to wait and see how it plays out. Um, and I like the storytelling thus far. It's interesting. I like the character development. Somewhat I like the character development. It's really centered around one person, and that's Pepper. Pepper is like the main character, throughout this series. Now, of course, they got sub characters, but their stories, it's not like They have like little miniature stories here and there. Thanks to the thumbs up. I really do appreciate that. Um, they're not memorable characters, so you're really only following Pepper. Now, the other characters, they're linked kind of sorta to Pepper. And instead of, spreading all these characters out and having their own adventures or their own stories, they're all, living under Pepper's universe. Now, Pepper, the main character, I do feel like he's sort of kind of overkill. I don't like the main character characteristics, because I'm gonna tell you why. Because we've been there and done that with a fire and brimstone type of character, a character that, shoot first and ask questions later, a character that's built on rage, and sometimes he over helps people, and sometimes when he does help people, he still hurts them in a different way, not physically, but like, he's okay. For an example, Pepper is in a new relationship with this female, and she's a baby mama. She done had her kid by some other guy, and this guy treated her wrong, treated her dirty, was very abusive towards her. But Pepper, instead of, you know, letting his anger gets the best of him. His anger always gets the best of Pepper, and it puts Pepper in these bad situations. He has good intentions, but at the same time, it's like Pepper can't control himself. So, uh, for an example, he's interacting with the baby's father, because he was like, really strong arming the baby mama that he's in a relationship with. He did not like that, and he intervened, saving her. But there's a wrong and a right way how to do things, and Pepper always does it the wrong way. And it just so happens these three officers were just standing around, and they see this commotion, and they automatically arrest Pepper, because Pepper was the aggressive one. Which I'm pretty sure at the end of this series we're gonna find out, or somewhere in the middle of the series, that those officers would just not happen to be there. The baby daddy probably called the police to get Pepper in trouble. Now, but Pepper, has a good heart. It's just he lets his anger gets the best of him, and he lets his impulses get the best of him. Pepper don't have a real 9 to 5 job. Pepper is basically getting money, just hustling, getting money. He's doing drum classes, and they got money saved up, him and the baby mama. And he feels like he should upgrade his drum system, and he sees this drum set on Amazon for like 5 grand, and that's all the money that they have. So they had a conversation about not using the money, and when she goes on to work, Pepper is, out and about hustling and trying to get his money up. He just lets his temptation gets the best of him, and he buys the drums. Okay. Now, Pepper ain't like, Pepper's not gonna, not tell her. He did tell her, and she got very upset about it. But yeah, Pepper's just one of those guys. And we all had a guy like this in real life. Okay, know a guy like this in real life. He really tries hard he has a good heart, but unfortunately he does things the wrong way, and it lands him in this psych ward. Now, I don't know how. To me, this is where the writing kind of tails off a bit, because they don't really explain, okay, why this psych ward, okay? And Pepper is not mentally challenged, okay? Pepper was in assault and battery. It was nothing mentally, it was no mental thing. They can't arrest him and put him in the psych ward. They supposed to take him to the police station, but the three officers said, "Oh man, it's a bunch of police, it's a bunch of paperwork. Let's just take him to the psych ward for 72 hours." Now, I do feel like these three officers have a connection with the doctor that has a psych ward, and this is like a little common thing that they do every day to bring new patients in. Okay, so That's how Pepper lands in the psych ward, and it's supposed to be 72 hours. But once again, Pepper's emotions get the best of him, and now he's just stuck like Chuck in his psych ward. Okay, and his baby mama. I mean, the lady comes, his girlfriend comes, but there's really nothing she can do. She did tell his son. She didn't even know he had a son, but she told the son. Son goes over there. He's talking to her. Once again, Pepper is not focusing on, hey, let me, I know me and my son, we haven't seen each other and things of that nature. And if I can get my son to get me out of here, let me have a conversation with him. But Pepper is focusing on, escaping the mental ward instead of doing it the right way, is get his son to talk up for him and get him out of the psych ward. Okay. You see what I'm saying? So the storytelling, the writing don't really describe, okay, why would he go this route instead of the common route, which is get his family involved. Okay. Also, the writing don't really explain about the three officers. Okay, why those three officers were at that spot at that particular time, and I'm pretty sure, uh, as the episodes go on, it'll explain further. Okay, but anyone that feels like, hey, look, somebody needs to know, the outside world needs to know about this, the social workers or the city needs to know about how they run things here. Anytime someone feels that way, the psych ward kills them. Okay, for an example, like the third cop, the female cop and the other cop, the male cop, they were all on board of putting Pepper in this psych ward, but there was one cop who was younger saying, I don't think we should do that. I think we should do it the right way, take him downtown, whatever. And they convinced him, they pretty much peer pressured him into taking him into the psych ward. Then, when they go check up on him, they find out that they kept Pepper longer. And nobody's really not fighting for Pepper to get out of there. None of the officers are, but the younger one is saying, hey, look, this is all the way fucked up. I'm not on board with this. And he walks off. Now, as he walks off, he's trying to find his way out the building, and he ends up finding himself with one of the ghosts, or the spirits, one of the spirits, an older doctor that was there, and for some strange reason he's no longer there no more. They don't explain the doctor, and it he the younger cop ends up shooting himself. Okay, not by choice. The ghost is the spirit, or the ghost is controlling his mind to shoot himself to make it look accidental. Okay, no one still, and that's another thing about the writing itself. Okay, they don't explain why, like the patients there, they have loved ones. All right, why, they have not seeked and found out what's going on with their loved ones. Okay, so the story, the writing don't really develop on that part of the thing. Just like Pepper, in the beginning you're saying to yourself, okay, Pepper got all this stuff going on, you would think somebody would, try to figure out what's going on with Pepper, the baby mama, or his family members or whatever. But the storytelling, the writing itself, don't explain a lot of details thus far in this series, and that's one of the hiccups I have about the Terror Devil in Silver. Okay, and then there was another episode where he could have escaped scot free. He could have escaped scot free, you know, just disappeared, this, that, and the third. But instead, he before he got on the city bus, he saw the commotion in the bar and the patients having a hard time, uh, you know, controlling themselves, and they get into a fight with the bartender as well as the people at the bar, and he felt a certain kind of way. He felt sorry for them, so he immediately runs to help them, and by helping them, that eliminate his chance of escaping the psych ward. Okay, but yeah, there's a lot of holes to this story, and I'm pretty sure these there's a lot of questions to the story, and I'm pretty sure there's questions. These questions will be answered later on in the series. Um, and that's pretty much now. To me, you know, if your favorite show is not on yet, I feel like the Terror Devil in Silver, you should give it a shot. If you are a horror fan, if you like horror series or horror movies, I think you should give the Terror Devil in Silver a shot. And that's pretty much all I got for this show thus far. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So I really appreciate everyone that came by, that supported the channel, that commented in the comment section. I really do appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. As always, rate, comment, subscribe, share this with a friend, family, as well as a follower. Let's get this channel lit in the YouTube algorithm. I'm up out of here. Also, if y'all guys are interested in me doing further interviews on these episodes, please comment in the comment section if you want me to continue to tell you what's going on with the Terror Devil in Silver. So I'm up out of here. Deuces, guys. I'll see y'all on the flip side. I'm out of here.